I woke up Monday morning and I panicked. I noticed that I'm 12 weeks away from a RUCK event that I signed up for months ago. And 12 weeks out was kind of a holy shit moment. It's like, yeah, I've been training, I've been rucking, been doing the things, diet's pretty clean, but I'm very mission oriented. And I'm also a classic procrastinator with probably a little bit of ADHD. So sometimes I need to be slapped in the face with something to really crank things up to another level. And well, that's what this week is. So what a better time than now to bring you along. So a lot of the content from here on out is going to be me in the gym, me out on a ruck, the conditioning crazy bullshit that I do out in the alley, which you'll get acquainted with. But again, I also want it to be a teachable moment wherever I can to kind of give you context to why we're doing what we do and how we do it, and some little tips and tricks that I've learned over many, many years of training. So, and before anyone says it, there is no perfect split. There is the pro splits, like I did when I was competing in bodybuilding, 1 or 2 body parts exclusively each session throughout the week. And now I've changed my split a little bit to where I'm doing a push-pull workout 2 times a week, early in the week and then late in the week. And then I'm doing still a very, very difficult, very brutal leg day 1 time a week. And then sometimes I'll do some shoulder isolation, triceps and bicep isolation with a little bit of extra core and some hard conditioning finishers at the end. So that's where I'm at now. So I'll bring you along with me and show you exactly what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So today, the start of this, 12 weeks out from this RUCK event that I'm doing, this challenge that I'm doing, where I'll be getting my ass handed to me for about 10 to 12 hours by a group of retired special forces cadre. Again, I better get my shit together. And this is day 1 of getting said shit together. So I'm glad you're here. Today's workout, let me get to the point, is a very basic push-pull workout. But simple does not mean easy. And as you'll hear me say throughout explaining the movements that I'm doing, it's not necessarily about the movements themselves. It's a lot of simple, basic moves. A few things you may see that may be different than you've done, or maybe even be new to you, and that's great. But you'll find very quickly that these videos are going to be more to teach you some of the little nuances in terms of form and technique and the reasoning behind the movements as we go through them. And go to robgoodwinfitness.com or iron40.com. Everything that I do is there. And if you haven't yet, my brand new ebook, Iron 40, has blown up. I can't even keep up with the number of downloads. If you're over 40, hell, if you're freaking 30 and you want to be prepared for over 40, download the book at my website, instant download. It's got everything in there, the why, the how, the what you should do, and a lot of other stuff weaved in between. So check it out, download it, thanking you in advance. But I'll stop talking now. On to the first movement of our push-pull for today, starting with the incline dumbbell press. Let's go. All right, so I'm going to do an incline dumbbell press. Now, I like a lower incline or a more moderate incline, usually right around 30 to 35 degrees. Don't like a 45-degree angle on incline. I think the ideal angle for targeting the upper pecs, but also the entire pectoral region, is going to be somewhere around that 30% or 30 degree grade. So that's what I'm going to do. And with dumbbell presses and with anything that I do, if I were training a client in my gym, the reminder is always slow, smooth repetitions with good form. And then on the final sets, we try to push towards the greatest level of concentric muscular failure that we can, because that's what's really going to put the growth mechanism into motion. I'm just not one of these, let's leave 1 or 2 reps shy of failure, or let's leave 2 in the tank, or whatever, or reps in reserve is the the popular term that all the cool kids are using these days. And honestly, and I know this to be true for an absolute fact, and you can't convince me otherwise, these people that do 1 or 2 reps in reserve, they'll say you don't need to go to failure. But the truth is, 90% of people out there training don't go to failure anyway. You know, when push comes to shove, gun to your head, most people don't truly go to absolute failure. It took me years, way back in the 90s, to truly understand what working to failure was. And that was because at that time, there was no internet. You didn't watch YouTube videos. You traveled. You went to see other top-level coaches, other top-level bodybuilders and trainers out there and athletes out there. And I learned very, very quick, working with some of these top-level coaches of that day, that I had no freaking idea what failure was. I thought I did, but then when they put me through the paces, I realized very quickly I was just a little young buck that didn't really know what that true point of failure actually was. So it took me some time. It's very mental. There's a point where your body is going to want to send a signal to shut you down because it's for preservation of life. It's telling you that if you continue with this level, there's a risk of injury. But we mitigate that by making sure our form is absolutely on point. So push to failure, because at the end of the day, your perceived failure is probably a couple of reps shy of that anyway, because be honest, if you think you're doing that last set to failure and somebody walked into that gym and put a loaded gun on your head and said, do 2 more, you'd do 2 more. And that really is kind of the level that you need to be at if you really want to pull the greatest level of growth out as you possibly can. All right, so the superset, or the back and forth in the push-pull today, did the incline dumbbell press. 3 sets is all I did. 3 sets is all I need generally. The first 2, as I've explained in many, many videos, are what I like to call feeder sets. I didn't call it that, Dorian Yates did, and it made total sense to me. The first 2 sets are just to prime the pump. I like to get the first set in at somewhere around 60% of what my perceived maximum effort would be. And then I'll bump that up a little bit more for that second set to really get my brain involved in what the hell's going on. And then the third set is the one by that, at that time, after having 2 sets in the books, now I'm ready. Now I'm mentally prepared as much as I am physically prepared. So I'll take a little walk around the gym, crank up my favorite death metal song, and fully prepare myself to engage in the hardest maximum effort set I possibly can, pushing to that point of momentary concentric muscular failure, because that's going to trigger the growth. On this particular movement, I'm doing a standing cable row, which I actually really like. And what I did is I've had these little handle extensions. See these right there? So that way I can really get some separation on the handles, because we really want to try to get that maximum contraction on the lats. And by having those little extensions, I can wrap it out a little wider, bring it around my torso, and get that peak contraction on my lats. And then I like the cables because I'm getting that eccentric pull from the cable weight, get a nice stretch on the lats. And what we want to do is we want to really stabilize the body. So when we're doing these, I want to not just stand upright, because you're going to have this whole thing, especially when you get to the heavier weights where it's kind of pulling you forward. So like when you do a Romanian deadlift or something like that, you kind of push the glutes back, right? You push the glutes back, and then I'll put one foot in front of the other. So by pushing the glutes back, the glutes kind of stabilize you and hold you into that position. So it's kind of like this push them back kind of a thing, So anyway, we want to get into that nice stable position. I'll lock in my form by pushing my glutes back stable, tighten my glutes and hamstrings, stay very planted on the floor, and then chest out, shoulders back, pull from the elbow, not the hand. That dials in that contraction into your lats. You get that really great contraction, that good hard squeeze, because I can separate the handles, wrap them around my torso. So I'll crank out 3 sets here as well. The first 2 being those feeder sets, somewhere around 60 to 70% of what I would call my perceived maximum effort. And then I'll do my ritual walk around the gym, get my head really into the game, get that supreme focus, and get ready to go after that all-out set to absolute failure, or as close as I possibly can. All right, so with the first round out of the way, now I'm going to move to the next pairing of movements, and that's going to be my front military press. And then I'm going to go to just a neutral grip lat pull down. Now this machine is from Hammer Strength. It's a dinosaur, but way back in the 90s, I loved this machine. I don't think they make it anymore. So when I saw one available at a used gym store, I immediately bought it and had it shipped here. It is a really great movement because it is primarily delts, it's primarily shoulders, specifically a front military press, really hitting the front delt, but also because of the angle that it is, I'm also getting another nice hit to the upper pecs. And then clearly you're going to get some major triceps involvement as well. So I'm just a huge fan of this machine. If you don't have this machine in your gym, then you just get a bench and you put it at a much higher incline. Very logical substitution for this movement. So, and you know, you really can't screw this one up. It's a machine. You know, I like the fact that it's unilateral. So with anything, my rule is just keep your chest out, shoulders peeled back into the bench, and then just go after it. So following the front military press, I'm going to go to a lat pull down. I'm a big fan of the mag grip bars. So I've got the neutral grip, you know, roughly shoulder width mag grip bar that I'm going to use for this one. And then, you know, it's a pull down. It's not fancy, but there are a couple very important points you want to consider when you are doing a pulling motion. And I kind of alluded to it with the cable row. But one of the things that I really use, or the phrasing that I use when I'm working with a client to get it to kind of click, because if there's one body part where clients will say, I don't really feel the muscle working, is back. And there's a couple of tips that I would like to share that might help you dial that in a little bit. And the main one is super simple, but it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. So on this pull down movement, or with any kind of a rowing or pulling movement, oftentimes we're so anterior focused as human beings because it's what we can see, it's what's in front of us. And we're not usually quite as aware with posterior movements like working the back or the glutes or the hamstrings. We often become very anterior dominant. So anytime I'm working back, and I learned this many, many years ago, when I'm exerting the force onto the movement, I want to absolutely imagine that I'm pulling from the elbows. So basically I'm imagining that from the elbow to the grip is just a loose strap. It's not even my damn arm, okay? Because most people pull from the hands. They pull from the grip. The grip is engaged, so that's where their focus is mentally. So they're pulling here. And oftentimes the lats are getting missed, or a lot of the lats are getting missed, and they're just pulling with their arms, and it just becomes a bicep brachialis and especially a forearm movement. So they get these huge forearms and their buys are looking pretty good, but their back is weak. So if you've heard the term mind on the muscle, blah, 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 yeah. But qualify that by really dialing that in and thinking, I'm pulling from the elbow. And while you're simultaneously pulling the elbows back, you're pushing your chest forward. Now with zero weight whatsoever, I can feel my lats inflate. When a bodybuilder oftentimes go into that famous front lat spread, they'll start the movement by pulling the arms back. It creates some drama into the pose, but they'll pull the arms back, then lock in and do the lat spread. If you think about that while you're doing the actual row, man, you'll feel your lats completely inflate like damn cobra wings if you dial it in mentally. So anytime I'm doing a pulling motion, I'm thinking about pulling from the elbow, inflating my lats, and lifting my chest into the movement simultaneously. Lift the chest, pull the shoulder girdle back into position. Now I'm locked in. Now I can drive the elbows to the floor, but I'm never coming up 100% like this. I'm locked in here, constant tension on the muscle, squeeze the lats, pull from the elbow, thinking about inflating them like that. You're also going to get people, and some of you might be pecking the comment already about where the elbow placement's supposed to be. You're going to get 100 guys and gal coaches out there that'll say, chest out, shoulders back, drive that bar right to the top of your chest, like that. And then you'll get the people that say, no, you want more of an elbow sweep out in front of you. That engages the lats better. I think it's somewhere in between. So you'll kind of find your sweet spot with your form, but when I'm pulling that down, I'm not back here. I am sweeping the elbow down in this motion. And where the bar lines up on my chest is kind of just whatever happens kind of a thing. So to me, it's somewhere in between. It's not that super chest out, shoulders back, and you're just coming below your chin. I also want to make sure that my elbows are driving the force. They're kind of out in front of me, and that helps me engage my lats better. So you just have to find what works out best for you. So front military press, lat pull down, 3 sets, last set to failure. That's number 2 in the series. All right, so next up, the next 2, number 1 is going to be a cable pullover. Now, I absolutely freaking love cable pullovers. Absolutely love them. I don't think you'll ever see me do a back workout or a push-pull workout where I'm not doing some cable pullovers. Now, if you're in a home gym, you do the dumbbell pullover or a kettlebell pullover laying flat on a bench or bridging your core with your shoulders on a bench, that's totally fine. That works. But for me, cable pullovers are the way to go. Now, this is my favorite thing to use for the cable pullovers, this strap. You can get these on Amazon for next to nothing. And if you watch bodybuilding videos, if you follow bodybuilding, watch Chris Bumstead, watch Nick Walker, watch any of the top pros. You're going to see them generally at some point doing a cable pullover. They just freaking work. Just like we spoke about with the row, bracing yourself. Well, it's a little bit more extreme version of that. So you want to almost get into a hip hinge kind of a posture, again, like you would for a Romanian deadlift or a stiff leg deadlift. So I want to push the glutes back with bent knees, get the juicy glutes out there. And then that's going to have me in a good posture to really target the lats and get that nice full range of motion. We still want to use a sort of a chest out, shoulders back posture. So when I'm pulling that cable over, you want to press the chest and pull the lats back and really focus on inflating it. You'll feel your lats, your rhomboids, your erectors wrapping around your spine and really contracting in the movement. This is definitely one of those that, you got to get to know. You got to work on it. You got to think through the form, mind on the muscle kind of a thing. But once you dial it in, you'll be like, holy shit, my lats are completely blown up. Get into that strict position, planted, glutes back. Arms are like 2 levers. So I'm going to take my 2 levers and I'm just going to bring them around. Elbows locked out. Squeeze the back. Bring it back up again. Arms parallel to the floor roughly. You'll see guys come up a little higher. I don't think that's necessary. I think this range of motion is just fine. So I'm going to squeeze, wrap the lats around my spine. Come back up nice and slow, loose grip, full focus on the lats. You'll see people a lot of times, if it's too heavy, which again, if it's too heavy to get the form right, you're kind of wasting your time. So you'll see a lot of guys, it's too heavy, so they'll start bending their elbows and they just turn it into some weird ass triceps press down kind of a wonky thing. You don't want to do that. This is to really engage and isolate those lats. It's a great first movement in a back workout to really light up the lats and pre-exhaust them. It's also a great finishing move in any back workout to really hit the lats that one last hard time, fully isolated. It's phenomenal. Just do pullovers. All right, so pullovers are in the books. Now, I don't do a superset. I don't do a back and forth on this round. And it's because I don't want to have to take my pullover cable, unhook it, put single handles on to go to the next movement, which is a cable fly, because I'm lazy like that. And in finishing movements, I think it's totally cool just to knock out my 3 sets of pullovers, and then I knock out my 3 sets of cable flies. That's just kind of putting the icing on the cake from the heavier pressing work that we did with the dumbbell presses, the military press, pull downs, and cable rows. So I did 3 sets of cable pullovers, and then I'll do 3 sets of cable flies. Again, you could screw up anything. I see it all the time, but with cable flies, all the rules we talked about today still apply. So when you get into that motion, clearly elbows remain broken and fixed for the most part in the beginning phase of the movement. If you ever see people do it with fully locked out with like the seal clap thing, no good. Not good on the shoulder, not good at all. So you want to break that elbow in the back. Now, what I do is when I bring the cables forward, you'll see a lot of people stay in more of that crab position. That's fine. I've been training for 35 years. I like to, as I bring the cables forward, then I do extend my arms and really get that hard contraction on the pecs with the fully extended arms, good posture, squeeze, and then bring it back into a broken elbow situation as I go into the eccentric. So that's really the only form cues you need right there. You like my flowers? I like to feel pretty. Sue me. Take our cables, clearly. I will get into a staggered stance. I think that's best. Tighten the glutes, stable. I get that good stretch on the pecs. And then I start with bent elbow and then fully extend and squeeze. You see me shaking a little bit. What you didn't see when the camera was off was me just absolutely going freaking beast mode. Yeah. But no, we want to, seriously, extend, squeeze, and then break the elbow again, get a nice stretch. The broken elbows are going to protect your shoulder in that deeper stretch. And then I extend the arm again, squeeze, and so on. So again, I'm not going to bore the living shit out of you by going over all the nuances of cable flies. It's not that difficult. Again, my only real form cue there is when you get into the stretch position, you want the bent elbows, the broken elbows, but I don't go 90 degrees. You'll see people doing this kind of weird. That just looks like dumb as shit, just me doing it in the camera. But slight broken elbow, push the chest out, squeeze in the middle, and then repeat until you have massive, swole, rippling pecs like mine. Not really. So there you have it. It's super simple push-pull workout. And honestly, workouts do not have to be super complicated. However, they have to be executed with intention, intensity, and precision. And they have to be somewhat intelligently designed. Obviously, somebody out there, some keyboard warrior is going to say, oh, I don't like the structure of that, or that's terrible programming. Well, you're wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a good, solid push-pull day, not overly complicated. So probably a really good start to this video series that is going to be a very regular thing of you hanging out with me and Mabel in the gym. And well, there's Mabel right there. She's usually always hanging out with me here in the gym. She keeps everybody straight. She's the enforcer. Actually, she's a 135-pound, absolutely terrified Great Dane that thinks the entire world is trying to kill her, but that's another story. Hey, this video is a trial run training video in my new gym, kind of off the cuff. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment, share it with your friends or your enemies, and we'll get after it again tomorrow, and I hope to see you there. So I'm out.